Hello, this video is a more in-depth look at using the Chicago Manual of Style online. The Citation Quick Guide, with which you might be familiar, shows how to cite the most commonly used types of sources with the most often seen types of elements. So the menu on the right lists the most commonly used types of sources. To create citations to other types of sources, including most primary sources, and to figure out how to handle uncommon citation elements, you must turn to Chapter 14 of the Chicago Manual of Style. The link to Chapter 14 is here on the Quick Guide at the top, and you can also get to it if you click on CMOS 17 Contents. So Chapter 14 is down here in Part 3, Source Citations and Indexes. Chapter 14 is titled Notes and Bibliography. There is good information in Chapter 14 about types of notes and formatting bibliographies. And you may need that information at some point, so you can come back to this chapter and review that. The main value of Chapter 14 lies in how it details the handling of different elements of a citation for different types of sources. So elements like author's name, title of work, etc. Types of sources like books or journal articles or manuscripts. In the section about books, for example, there is detailed information about handling chapters or other parts of a book. Let's look at the information about handling letters in published collections. The information presented here is much more detailed than what is presented in the Quick Guide, with multiple examples in both notes and bibliography style. A special case for handling a single letter is also presented here at the bottom. For another example, suppose a published item does not have a publication date on it. In the section about books, in the subsection Facts of Publication, it tells you how to handle the date element down here at the bottom. And it tells you how to handle the date element if there is no publication date on the element. So for the no date of publication element, it instructs you to use the abbreviation ND for no date. Or if there is an assumed date, you put it in brackets with a question mark. Back in Chapter 14, we can scroll through the contents listing and see what other types of sources that it documents. Many of the types of sources fall into the category of primary sources, such as interviews and personal communications, unpublished manuscripts, and manuscript collections. So this is the place to go if you're working with different types of primary sources, especially unpublished sources. You should come to Chapter 14 and see what it has to say about the types of sources that you want to cite. For example, if you are citing a manuscript found in an online collection, you can come to the section on manuscript collections, click on Overview and Additional Resources, and read about the elements of citation for manuscripts. This section tells you what elements to include in the citation. Usually requires the title, the date, the series title, if applicable, the name of the collection, and the name of the depository. And then if you read a little further, it says that for citations of collections consulted online, usually you'll want to include a URL or database name. Then you can turn back to the contents listing for Chapter 14 and click on the heading Examples of Note Forms for Manuscript Collections to look at some examples of different types of manuscript collection notes. In this way, you can get a clearer understanding of what a citation to a manuscript should look like. And there are quite a few different ones listed here. Let's look at this example. This is a manuscript letter found in an online collection. For proper citation, on this page, we need to find the elements for the citation. So those would be title, and for letters, we're going to use this as a title. Letter from John Tracy to John Hancock. And then we need the date, 7 December 1791. There is no series title for this item, so we'll skip that. The name of the collection is listed here in tiny print from the Hancock Family Papers. So the collection is Hancock Family Papers. And then the name of the archive or repository or depository. And that would be the Massachusetts Historical Society. And then, of course, since we found it online, we're also going to need to capture the URL. And since we have all of our elements, we can just construct our citation as a note this way. So John Tracy to John Hancock. Again, that's the title, and that's the convention for letters. You would put the name of the writer first, and then the word to, and then the name of the recipient. All of that, you can think of that as the title. And then our date comes next. And then the collection, the Hancock Family Papers, and then the repository, the Massachusetts Historical Society, and then finally the URL. And remember, since this is a note, we'll use commas between the elements and put a period at the end.